In a small village called Umulika, nestled between lush green hills and thick forests, there lived a young man named Chijioke. He wasn't from a wealthy family, nor did he have land or cattle like the others. His clothes were always simple, worn from the struggles of daily life, and his sandals were patched with old rope. But there was something about him, something that caught my attention from the first moment we spoke. I was Zuri, the daughter of Okechukwu, the richest man in the village. My father owned a large farm with acres of cassava and yam and several cows that grazed freely around our compound. I'd never known hardship, and I often took that privilege for granted. But Chijioke, with his quiet demeanor and mysterious ways, made me question everything I thought I knew. He worked as a day laborer, planting maize, carrying water, and doing odd jobs for the village elders. He would spend hours at the marketplace, helping the traders carry their goods, always working with a focus that impressed me. He didn't talk much about his past, and in the beginning, I found that intriguing. I liked that he didn't boast about where he came from or what he had. But the longer I knew him, the more I began to sense something in him, an ambition so strong that it bordered on obsession. One evening, we sat by the village's central fire. The sky deep blue above us, the smell of roasting plantains in the air. The elders were gathered as usual, sharing stories of our ancestors and the old ways. But Chijioke's mind wasn't on the stories. His eyes kept darting to the ground, his fingers twitching as if he were deep in thought. "You seem restless tonight, Chijioke," I said, noticing how distant he had become. He smiled faintly, but didn't meet my eyes. "Zuri, do you believe a man's destiny is tied to his birth, to his family, to what he has been given in life?" I frowned. "Of course, but it is also what you make of it. A man can change his destiny with hard work and wisdom." He looked at me then, his eyes intense. "I used to believe that, but I've learned that there is more to it than just hard work. There are other ways that the elders have forgotten, ways that can give a man everything he wants, everything he deserves." His words sent a chill through me. It was as if something dark had taken root in his heart. I didn't understand it then, but I would soon. Over the next few weeks, Chijioke became more distant. He spent less time in the village, and when he did, he was quieter than ever. He stopped visiting my family, no longer sharing meals with us. I started hearing rumors from the older women in the village. Some said they had seen him disappear into the thick forest late at night, his face shadowed, his movements hurried, as if he were chasing something or running from something. One evening, when the moon hung low in the sky, I couldn't stand the curiosity any longer. I followed him. I trailed him through the familiar dirt paths until we reached the edge of the forest. The trees towered overhead, their branches twisted like fingers, reaching into the sky. Chijioke didn't notice me at first, but when he did, he didn't seem surprised. Instead, he looked at me with something that could only be described as pity. "Zuri, why are you following me?" he asked, his voice heavy with something I couldn't place. "I want to know what you're hiding, Chijioke. You've changed. What are you really looking for in that forest?" I demanded, my heart racing. He paused for a long time, then looked me squarely in the eye. "Power. Wealth. It's not just about working hard anymore, Zuri. It's about knowing the right things, about making the right sacrifices." My stomach twisted. "Sacrifices? What are you talking about?" He reached into his bag and pulled out a small weathered book. The cover was adorned with strange symbols I didn't recognize. He held it out to me. "This is the key. This book has the answers. It's how I'll make my fortune." I stepped back. "You're talking about juju, Chijioke. You've gone mad. This is not the way." But he didn't listen. He opened the book, revealing pages filled with ancient rituals, dark incantations, and sacrifices. The air around us grew thick, oppressive, as though the very forest was holding its breath. "You don't understand, Zuri," Chijioke said, his voice trembling. "I've learned that the spirits of this land, they don't care about hard work or honesty. They care about power. I will make a deal, and in return, I'll have everything. Money, land, influence." I could see the desperation in his eyes. This wasn't just ambition anymore. This was obsession. "What are you willing to sacrifice, Chijioke?" I whispered, already knowing the answer. He grinned, but it wasn't a smile that reassured me. It was a smile filled with hunger. "Anything, everything, and if it means I have to give up something precious to gain all that I desire, then so be it." The ground beneath us seemed to tremble. I realized with a sickening certainty that Chijioke was no longer the man I had once known. He was consumed by his desire for wealth, for power, and there was no turning back. I ran from him, my heart racing, but his laughter echoed in my ears. I didn't stop until I reached the safety of my father's compound, breathless and terrified. The next day, Chijioke disappeared from the village. The elders said he had gone to the city to find a new life, but I knew better. The rumor started circulating of a man who had made a pact with dark forces, a man who returned to the city with sudden wealth beyond measure. He bought land, built houses, and lived a life of luxury that seemed too good to be true. But even as he gained everything, something about him changed. The more money he accumulated, the more distant he became, his eyes hollow, his smile forced. Then one day, years later, I heard that Chijioke had died. They said he was found alone in his mansion, surrounded by piles of cash and expensive clothes. There were no signs of foul play, but something about his death didn't sit right. The villagers whispered that the spirits had finally claimed him, that the price for his wealth had come due. And I knew deep down that Chijioke had gotten everything he wanted. He had power, he had wealth, but it had cost him his soul. I never forgot the lesson I learned that night. The love of money, the desire for power, can consume a person completely. It can turn the purest heart dark. And once you make a deal with the darkness, there's no going back. Now, when I walk through the village, I hear the whispers of the elders. They still tell the story of Chijioke, the man who sought riches through dark paths, and they warn the younger ones, like I was once warned, to never lose themselves in the love of money, because some sacrifices are far too great. Now, what can we learn from that story? Chijioke's story teaches us a powerful lesson. Chasing wealth and power at any cost can destroy you. He chose shortcuts and dark paths, thinking they'd bring him success, but it came with a heavy price. Here's what we can learn. Don't compromise your values. Chijioke sacrificed his morals for power, and it led to his downfall. Success built on dishonesty never lasts. Shortcuts aren't worth it. Quick fixes may seem tempting, but they often lead to trouble. Real success takes time and effort. Happiness isn't about money. Chijioke got everything he wanted but lost himself in the process. True happiness comes from within, not from things. Stay grounded. Ambition is good, but don't let it consume you. Remember what really matters. Chijioke's story is a reminder that the path to success should be guided by integrity, patience, and staying true to yourself.